Right, just see I'm just chiseling out a gear stick. Could have done it out of steel. Thought, you know what the hell, let's do it out of billet. Done everything else out of billet, you might as well go with that as well. Turn the corner back on now. So, yes, decided the other day, after being shown very kindly by Mike that somebody else has come up with an alternative to the Porsche original Gearshift system that actually made it more compact. There's some lovely billet alternatives, but basically they replicate pretty much the same size. And I think I'm kind of guessing they're designed to go back into a Porsche, so you know they've basically got the same mounting points. You know, it becomes a lovely piece of artwork, but it doesn't really, you know, doesn't really do anything other than just, you know, become a lovely piece of something to look at. Has no advantage. So we started on basically designing a gear shift which would basically become less bulky than this. You know, this isn't very heavy, it's only 1.34 kilos total, so it's not exactly what you call heavy, but so far I'm up to about 850 grams, minus a couple of bolts, so I'm going to be in the same kind of weight range. But that aside, looking at this system here, it's kind of made to look as you could sandwich it through the tubes and pretty much have the gear stick narrow here. But I kind of then realised that it's possible, because we've made it smaller, to actually put it on my left hand side, which I'd prefer, not because the gear shift's in a different position, but just prefer because I no longer have my elbow close to the passenger. I had a load of 7 and changing gear was interesting because you end up elbowing your wife when you're going for a drive. Not really the best of scenarios. Or your wife becomes your passenger becomes a little bit inconvenienced because you have to push their seat back out the damn way, and also put them in as low as driving position as possible. So basically your elbow doesn't hit them. So nicer if we can go back to a left-hand gear change, which I hadn't thought about until this morning. So we started mucking around with this. So pretty much designed it for the centre and then realised, you never know, it might go over here. I've made this piece here at the moment, which is basically the pivot, if I can find it. What did I do? Oh, put it over there. Excuse me. This is the first piece. There's two holes missing from here and here. That's where the gear stick actually pivots through. So I'm missing these holes here at present. That'll be the next stop. But basically you've got two bearings that sit in there, one either side, clamp that together, and then that mounts up to the side of the chassis and pivots like so. Then you have a gear shift sat on the top, which will then effectively pivot left to right between the gates. So you'll forward and back it that way, and then that'll be the gate change. That's one Bowden hook-up there. The other Bowden hook-up will mount it off the stick itself via a rocker, via 2 rod ends. There's an invisible bar between those two, so you'll have to trust me on this one. And then it goes through a rocker here, which obviously ratios up the speed for the Bowden to get to the right amount. Now, original Bowden distances for the left to right Bowden was 30mm of travel using the original Porsche pivot lengths. You want to keep them as standard. And the push-pull, so the gear stick forward and back, needs 50mm on the Bowden cable. So use those distances on here, replicated on that, and then found out what actually this moves left to right, forward and back at the top of the gear shift with 30mm and 50mm movement on these units here. I found those 2 dimensions. Once we got those 2 dimensions, I used that to get this gear stick, so basically it used the same amount of travel. sorry, this layout of left, right, forward and back as actually this unit here would on a normal Porsche. Obviously this unit here is actually a quick shift unit, so it's a little bit shorter than the Porsche normally, but I didn't want to go any smaller than that just in case it became, you know, too tight. So we've used that basically as a demo for the distances. Worked them all out, and that's what we've now got within a millimetre in both directions. So left-hand gear change should be cool, you know. First part already done. Gearshift stick itself, at the moment we've just got the stick here, and that's what's being done. The ball will be a separate part, and we'll just screw that on with a nipple on the side and then engrave the top, so you've got some idea where it reverses. Yes, so the minor difference is how it originally designed is will be both very close together and kind of nice and vertical. Obviously the disadvantage we've got here, we need to try and keep it closer to the seat, so the two rod ends here are going to be at an angle. You might eventually have to bend the tube that goes between the two of them, machine the tube, make it an S shape, so it keeps that rod end in its central throw, so basically the rod end isn't bind, but also make sure that this is closer to a straight arm. That we'll have to do later. I've got to get it in and do some simulation in real world just to make sure everything's okay. I'll quickly do a steering wheel to give me some idea where it was. One thing I will do, if I get rid of the large bulky centre console and come back to something that's narrower, more sensible, should we say, push me slightly over that way again to give me more room here. Obviously previously I've come this way to allow for the gear stick, now I'll do the reverse. The seat will go over there to give me more room here. Unfortunately doing that, I've already set this power steering column at that particular point, and when I brought the seat over here, the first bit from the original spec we had, we actually moved this steering column about 15 millimeters or so this way. I can't remember the exact amount off the top of my head. It looks now like the steering column's got to go back, but I did, in hindsight, think it was worth leaving 20 millimeters of clearance just in case I did ever want to move the column back in this particular scenario. So I did think in advance on that one, if anything else. Basically the room you got between the fan and the chassis there, I made sure I got enough room here to move the power steering. So this beam here unfortunately has to be cut, sacrificed to move over again, but that's not really a hardship. Obviously there's another joint at the bottom here, we'll do the same thing again, just be moved. Some steel and a grinder, it should be soon go through. So yeah, I can move me further. I'm always going to put the passengers hard up to that wall as far back as I can, just to give them the most leg room, because obviously at the front of their feet will be the battery and a foot stand over the top of the battery so they can actually put the foot on something. I'm sure some people feel safer when some idiot like me is driving at ridiculous speeds to have somewhere to put the feet. But yeah, that's kind of thing. Set to order. 2 bearings for here, 2 more bearings for there, some bearings for the actual rocker itself, and 2 pairs of bearings for the pedals. The pedals are now waiting basically for the bearings. I machined out the pocket for the clutch, so basically the clutch rod end. Oh, there you go. Scooby-Doo. Clutch rod end now will sit inside there like so, and it gives me enough of a, gives us an angle like blah blah. I'm going to assist with seat bun. Once the bearings come, finalise the size of those bores, machine those bores out for step bearings. Then I shall polish these, plate them before I can actually put the steel sleeve back into here. Said steel sleeve, so I can put the steel sleeve to that. It could have probably done without the sleeve. The bearing actually here, instead of being a single point contact, because normally you can see these like a dome thing, this is actually a spherical bearing, so I could have probably just machined the aluminium for that, but to be honest, you know, just to be extra safe, it is a brake pedal after all, I'll use the steel sleeve. And I've got 3 thou interference between the sleeve and that at the moment, so I'll heat that up in my oven, get it nice and warm, get that in the freezer, and hopefully we'll shove that in and needs that last little bit of a nudge, we'll stick it on the fly press and get it into place. But I've got to finish the pedals and coat them before I can put that in, so realistically it's awkward to do a dry run of fitment until we've actually coated and everything, so which is why I'm going to do quite a few things will be taken off and anodized just to, if everything else cheer me up. So yeah, our large centre console may not be, the front section here might be something similar, but this section here is going to be quite a bit narrower. I was just getting carried away with doing interior stuff, to be honest, and like, this is a race car, it's just getting silly. You know, my white squared mini iPad, which is what that is. Yeah, you know what? I can get plenty of information in the dash. If I need to put anything over that, I can always put it on the right hand side of the dash, or keep this centre piece here and have it there. There's plenty of room to have information stuff that I need. But obviously now, if I put the Gearshift does go over there and everything works out okay, and I'm dead happy with that, through the steering column, then I'll reinstate the central structure, which is basically from the rear bulkhead to the floor, and the floor to the dash, and then back down from the dash to the floor. And what the advantages that does give me me something to rest my foot on for the accelerator pedal on the side here. I've got somewhere quite convenient to put a convenient footrest. I do intend to have cruise control. Yes, I know it's a stupid idea, but I want cruise control. This is North America, we have lots of straight roads. I want bloody cruise control. Probably save my license. Flick the cruise control on, sit at a nice sensible speed. The cops aren't just going to ignore you. They're going to ignore you and not looking at you, but if you don't put the cruise control on, if you haven't got a cruise control and you haven't got a stereo, all you end up doing is keep doing this with the throttle. Oh, that sounds lovely. That's great. And keep buzzing people because it just keeps your brain going. If I have a stereo on, a bit of sound deadening, something, got a bit of music in the background, put some Beethoven on or something that's nice and calming, and hit the cruise control. And the long journeys, at least you're not playing with the throttle all the time and then losing your license or paying some very friendly American police officer large sums of money for basically doubling the speed limit, so or trebling it, which is quite likely in America. But actually, some of the Americans say it's 55. You could easily quadruple that, but that's another story. Anyway, progress last day or so, spending Easter on the milling machine. God, this thing is low. It's been that long since I've had one on the floor or been stood next to something. It really is quite ridiculous. Needs to be finished. Anyway, right, I'm going to get on. Speak to you later.